James at 16 will not be presented this evening, but will return next week at its regular time. Stay tuned now for a special 2-hour What Really Happened to the Class of 65.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Coming February 21st, it's Faye and the Moon, the latest graphic novel from Franco and the Saturn Sisters. Faye, mourning for her missing mother, sits night after night below the moon that her mother loved dearly. One night she discovers she can pluck the moon out of the star-filled sky. Back safe in her house, she holds it close, feeling comfort at last. Then Faye loses the moon and finds that taking it has awakened ancient monsters, rats, dragons, and more, who hunt for it for themselves. Will Faye be able to reclaim the moon, find her own inner strength, and save the world from eternal darkness? Faye and the Moon comes from the minds of Franco, whose works include Tiny Titans, Superman of Smallville, Archimaniacs, Itty Bitty Hellboy, and The Ghost and the Owl, and art from the Saturn Sisters, whose animated works include Sesame Studios' The New Neighbors, Hulu's The Awesomes by Seth Meyers, and PBS's Mira, Selkie from the Sea. Pre-order Faye and the Moon now. Available in bookstores and comic shops everywhere, February 21st.
This portrait of Jean Grey, the Phoenix, is one of the ones I did for a series of single frame mock-up kind of covers for the Marvelocity book, where my concept was it would work like an accordion. When you open up the book, getting past the initial Captain America cover, you would fold it out and you get Iron Man and character after character after character, and it allowed me then to do multiple Marvel character portraits. Phoenix being one of the most primary Marvel concepts, because her storyline back in 1980, the invention of that character, that maturation of Jean Grey into the Phoenix, was one of the best storylines in the history of comics and stands out as one of the most important female superheroes.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for another Trek Watch. Oh, yeah. We're looking at Picard Season 3, Episode 4. I believe that's the no-win scenario. I wondered if the reason why they never said Kobayashi Maru was if they did, they might have to, pay another WGA writer, the opportunity to do it. I don't know. But, yeah, it was very interesting that it was no-win scenario. But John here, Franco here, Mitch here, Wayne here. Good to see everybody. Another good episode, guys.
2.
Yeah.
Because we didn't talk about last week. So it's good.
We talk about 3 and 4. That's right. And what was 3 called? The 17 seconds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll talk about both. Absolutely, man.
I think 4 was Afterbirth.
What was that about Afterbirth?
I think 4 was Afterbirth.
Placenta, yeah.
Placenta.
Well, that would technically be the next episode, wouldn't it?
Very true.
Yeah, true. That comes out after.
But no, it was great. I have to say that it was even better because we had no Raffi, although I was surprised. But then I thought about it, and everyone I know that has seen all 10 episodes already, like Rob Burnett, they said the first 4 episodes was almost Act 1, and you could say that Raffi and Worf's Act 1 ended in Episode 3.
I'm going to go out on a limb. Not a big one because I'm fat and I'll probably fall to my death. But best Jonathan Frakes Riker episode, it's up there. It was today's episode, whatever number we're talking about.
Well, I think 3 too. I really all 4.
And he directed both of them as well.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's why he made himself look really good. But if I saw him, perchance this year, maybe on July 28th to the 30th at Terrificon in Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, I would go up to him and say, Mr. Frakes, that was some goddamn fine acting on your part there. And, John, I'm going to ask this because I didn't keep up with all the books, but what happened to his kid, his son? I assume he's dead.
Oh, that was in Season 1. They talk about it, Thaddeus.
Yeah.
And he had some sort of rare disease that
it's not in the books or anything like that.
It's literally in Picard season 1. That episode where they go to visit him, Troy, and their daughter.
If I remember correctly, isn't that why they went to that planet or something like that? Or was that for a different reason?
Why. I think they just wanted to hide out. Yeah, they were hiding out, but they were going for pizza. That's right. But it was there's a picture of Picard holding the baby.
Yeah.
And everything, and
we don't know how he died. Was it like a disease?
No, I said it was some sort of disease. I don't remember the name of it, but it was ridiculous.
Bad writing.
Unfortunately,
it was so bad. It was so bad. I don't remember. I'm like, wait, when did this happen?
It was. That's funny. Chris says yes. As far as pizza, burnt tomato, indeed. No, it was like a silicon-based disease, and it's like, no, we're carbon. No, there are no silicon. If that means maybe Riker's son had a tit job, and it went, something like that. That's right. Thank you, Langley. See, Langley's always there. The disease could have been cured by a positronic brain, but the synth ban prevented it.
Oh, really? Wow, that's actually not bad, but I don't remember that.
But and Langley also says, I say it every week, but some of the season gets better and better. It's a completely different show compared to seasons 1 and 2. Absolutely.
My poor friend in Australia just started watching season 1 of Picard, and he was like, "Oh, does it get better?" I'm like, "You're gonna have to suffer through 2 seasons before you get to the good shit." I said, or you could just skip those 2 and just start here, because you really, unless something major happens, you don't need to watch those first 2. It's like Star Wars. You can skip movies. It's like,
other than the fact that they make jokes about Picard's synthetic body.
That's or Raffi. You don't know who that is, but
right.
You don't have to know Agnes. You don't have to know Crystal Balls. You don't have to know Legolas.
Romulan Legolas, absolutely.
All that. Nothing that's come unless it comes back in the next wave. But
no fucking way. No fucking way. Nothing. Really, Wayne, I am so going to be on you every year that you go to Creation in Vegas and be like, is Romulan Legolas there? I don't think Allison Pill would necessarily do it.
No, she's working.
Yeah, but is Crystal Balls there? Is Romulan Legolas there?
So far,
how big of the line?
He's not there.
Who is it?
So far, he's not there.
No, Legolas is at GalaxyCon, which is a competition to me the weekend of my show.
Okay.
So he is doing convention circuits. It's not at mine.
But George Kirk will be there.
George Kirk.
Yeah.
The brother.
Oh, that's right.
Who they did nothing with in Strange New Worlds other than, hey, I'm George Kirk. I'm a little bit of a misogynist. And, he was on as much as the Anar engineer, only 4 episodes. And
that guy was good.
They didn't kill George off, but they killed off the engineer.
The blind guy, he was good.
Yeah, he was the latest round of guest announcements.
Bruce Hogarth or something his name is?
That's the blind engineer, definitely. Yeah.
But
I forget I don't know Sam Kirk's real name. I agree with Langley. Langley says the tragedy of seasons 1 and 2 of Picard is most of the actors were wasted on terrible material. 100%, man. I don't blame the woman that plays Raffi at all. It's not her fault. Bad character, bad writing. Let's see what else here. I'm checking on Chris Topher. Yes, Captain Shaw is the best new Star Trek character.
Absolutely agree.
Wayne wasn't here for the pre-show meeting, but later on I will show an interview that Rob Burnett did with Todd Stashwick, who of course is Captain Shaw, and Captain Shaw answered a question that I had on the broadcast, and I get name checked, so it's legit. I'm not taking a random question, but I asked Rob's permission, and he said sure. But it's good because they talked a lot about not only his performance but his background as well.
Here's a weird question for you. Picard's talking to his kid about when did the hair start falling out.
Right.
And he says to him, he goes, what are you, like 23 or 24? I looked it up. The actor playing that is 34 years old because I'm like, look, I got a kid that's 24 and I got a kid that's 22, going to be 23 next week. They don't look like that because he's got lines on his face. I go, that's a hard 24 unless he's living on Tatooine Which
Hey,
he
he's been
does have a
traveling.
hard life.
He's been traveling the spaceways and
just
dealing with this
saying.
Doctors Without Galaxy Borders.
Why didn't they just hire a younger actor if you're going to use that dialogue?
Drinking Romulan ale. Yeah. No, he's living a hard life.
Makeup, you can make him look younger, but it was
He's
like
led a hard knock
Why are
life.
you projecting all of your
For
fears
us.
about hair loss onto this podcast right
I
now?
have a lot of hair. I'm not worried about it, but I'm just saying that show.
Let's get it out of the way. Didn't need Picard dropping the F-bomb.
Yes, it was warranted. He's old now. He's got to say it sometime before he goes.
Well, because it's new Star Trek, and everybody says "fuck" on new Star Trek.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I don't know.
It's so unnecessary.
He was in his Clint Eastwood mode.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he improvised it, and they left it in because, of course, I'm an executive producer. I'm sure he didn't, pound the table like, "Hey, no, leave it in." But I'm sure Terry Matalas like, "Yeah, that's great, Patrick. Sure, we'll leave it in."
I thought Riker had the best lines, like to boldly go get the hell out. Whatever he said at the end, he's like, "Let's boldly
get the hell out of here."
Let's boldly get the hell out of here. Absolutely. No, and I love. Also, guess what? Beverly solves the problem. Fantastic. Fantastic. I didn't know what the hell she was doing when she was doing her countdown every few minutes or whatever. But that was great. And again, guys, finally, there's a new Star Trek show where everyone works together and everybody is involved with the solution. Mm-hmm. We don't have Space Jesus Burnham doing her thing and everyone.
Well, you would think a guy with a positronic brain would have figured out that there's a rhythmic thing going on.
A pattern.
What does he use that
He's
thing
still
for?
the same guy. Why he acts like a regular human? Why do you think he's like the $6 million man all of a sudden?
Because I assumed that he'd have like data abilities. Like Data was super strong and super smart and calculating things. Why wouldn't you?
They went through and specifically said that he doesn't. He has all the abilities he was when he was an old man before.
But wouldn't he be the 6 billion Latinum man?
Yeah. There you go.
Exactly.
We skipped last week's episode. That was I'm trying to think what happened last week.
You killed us all.
Yeah, but that was the end. And I'm first of all, I don't think that scene was earned. I think it was an overreaction and it was kind of a little wonky writing. But that said, at least immediately after the flashback, hey, I was out of line. No, you weren't. That's fine.
Yeah, I thought that too until I saw this week's episode, and then I thought it was warranted because he talks about his kid in the beginning of last episode, and then again here, and he's basically saying, "Yeah, I'm afraid. I have a daughter at home.
Yeah.
I was basically, hitching my wagon to this thought, and we're going to get out of here, and this is the way Starfleet regulations say to do it." So,
I thought he was the changeling, because the real Will Riker would have never said that. I'm like, that's the other two drop. I'm like, well, if you just introduce that there's a shapeshifter on board, why wouldn't it be the head guy that just fucked the ship up that's going to kill everybody? Because that's who. And then the real Riker was like tied up by in a closet somewhere, but it wasn't.
Yeah, no, that could have been, and I'm glad they didn't do that. Also, Vadic, I felt in episode 3 was much more low key, and it's like, oh, maybe she's being so arch and over the top to scare them.
Yeah.
And I liked her. Man, I guess we now know definitely that, because it was like, well, is she a changeling as well? And I guess the answer is yes, based on her cutting her hand off to communicate with the changelings. That was pretty gross.
That was cool. I liked how she spun in her chair like her dad, Christopher Plummer. I was like,
I thought she was going to say the line. I thought she was going to repeat the line just as an homage.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been great.
What would she have said, Franco?
Let's slip the dogs of war.
I like the way you do it, because he does it a little like more even, but you're like, let's slip the dogs of war.
It's cry havoc.
Cry havoc. And let's slip the dogs of war.
Yeah. And then were you surprised at the changeling, or they're like, we're getting the hit parade, we're checking off all the boxes. You want a Deep Space Nine reference? Bang. You want a Star Trek? Bang. You got the music? Boom. We're doing all that fan service. You know what? I like it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. After it was over, I watched it. I go, wow. Anybody else would say, oh, look, they're doing all the fan service. I go, that's what people wanted. We had to suffer through 4 years of Discovery. Thank God it's getting canceled for season 5. Sorry for people that work on it. I know it sucks to lose a job, but you should. because that show sucks.
But you should.
I'm not holding back. Your boy Larry Young, is that his name, Larry Young?
Yeah, I love Larry.
Star Trek's over, and I put, thank God it was never good once. He goes, you're right. I go, I know I'm right. We all know I'm right. It never lived up to its potential. It could have been great.
I couldn't wait for you guys. Johnny Price, Larry's co-host on Serious Star Trek with Dan Shea, and texts me on Facebook. He's like, "Come on, let's all talk about this." And Discovery's done, and I'm like, "I'm totally for it, man."
Yeah,
and we had a blast. No, we had a blast. It was.
Well, you had to like the nod to the Klingon music. Like they took musical cues from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Yeah,
but
they did.
Larry complained about the music cues, and I'm like, well, how is that different? First of all, than the original series that reused music cues all the time. But secondly, it's like, well, you got no problem with the Empire theme when it pops up in Star Wars or the other or the sad music.
They pay good money for all those music cues. You might as well use it. Like, hey, we're paying somebody for this.
Well, but they have a new composer too at Picard season 3. But yeah, let's no, this is Star Trek, just like that. I mean, it's like that's Star Trek, man. You want to use that music. I love it. I
love when the show starts every week and you hear that. Dun, dun, I get goosebumps. I'm like, ooh, Star Trek.
Come on, that's the call to action, man.
James Bond when you want that stuff.
It's 100%. Just like it's not Star Trek, but the Flash trailer when you heard the Batman '89 theme.
Yep.
It sends the shivers down your spine.
It's, as Langley says, it's how you use fan service in service of the story, not just to prove you read the encyclopedia. Right. Absolutely. And Weeze, I agree with you. Shaw really sold the post-traumatic stress disorder and how it shaped him as a person. Very complex character. When he pointed to himself, she picked me. Why me? Absolutely. And it's funny. I was talking to my buddy Scott Larson, who's another big Star Trek fan. And he's like, all right, enough. That's 35 years ago. Way to hold a grudge. And I'm like, dude, no. I have an uncle who was a World War II vet. He passed away in the 90s. To the day he died, and especially he was he really, like, his grandchildren really bought into the whole Greatest Generation descriptor of his group. And they're like, please tell us about World War II. And he did, but he lost 2 really good friends at Guadalcanal. And it still upset him. And it was tough for him and everything. And I'm like, no, man. I'm like, I get it. You never, that shit never leaves you in some cases.
Well, Robert Shaw in Jaws, when him and Dreyfus were comparing scars, and then he was talking about, was it the new USS Nimitz?
The U.S. Indianapolis. Best friend, pulled him over. He's a baseball player. He jumped over, half eaten. Ever see a shark's eyes? Like a doll's eyes.
Yeah, like a doll's eyes. Damn. I thought, I was thinking back. I watched these 2 episodes this morning, as a matter of fact, and I was thinking back to the other first 2 seasons, and I'm thinking, why so bad? Why did I not like the story? Why did I not like, the scripts? It just didn't make any sense to me. And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, what did they do? Was it just the characters that we know and love? Is that why I'm loving this so much? Part of the answer is yes, but also the other characters. Shaw is great in this. You wouldn't tell from the very first episode. You'd think he's a jerk, he's just propelling the story forward, but he has backstory now. You think about 7 of 9, backstory. You think of LaForge, not Geordie LaForge, the daughter.
Yeah, the daughter.
It's even the members of the bridge crew who in 5 seasons of Discovery, I couldn't remember who they are or what they look like. You have that what's the species, the Bajoran guy sitting there. Like, right. I don't know his name, but I know he's there on the bridge at that station.
Yep.
Well, I know LaForge, and I know the Asian guy is Murrow.
Okay, but see, me, I'm horrible at names, but I recognize him, and I know he's there, and because that those facial features, that acting, the emoting that he's doing, it all sells the story. Where in Discovery and the first 2 seasons of Picard, it really didn't.
No. All Detmer and Lady with Dreadlocks did was look scared at each other.
Yeah.
It did nothing else. Detmer had a PTSD moment when they all have the meal and everyone's talking about how great Michael is. and she had a little freak out like that. The dreadlock lady had the wrestling or the MMA fight on the gambling planet on the episode in season 4. Too little, too late. F you. I'll be Picard and say I'm tired of this fucking shit or whatever he says. But they blew it. They blew it. It's that simple.
They even brought back Dr. Crusher's assistant, who's the doctor on the Titan now. I was like, wait, that's the same actress?
No.
Is that not supposed to be her?
Not even.
Oh, I said that was a callback. I was like,
that is not Nurse O'Gara or Dr.
O'Gara? No?
No, in fact, she shows Beverly disrespect in episode 2. And if she was Ogawa, she'd never do that. Ogawa,
I was like, I thought they knew each other. I was like, what's going on there? A little fight.
Remember, in All Good Things, Ogawa has a baby, and all the timey-wimey shit, like, has her lose the child, and Beverly's really sad about it and stuff, and also gives her relationship advice. They're tight. Yeah, and this lady is like, listen, a lot has changed in 20 years. And it's like, excuse me, that's the former head of Starfleet Medical. I bet you would have treated her a lot more with respect.
I thought that was a good comment on today's physicians, because they're all just sort of reliant on the tools or what are your symptoms, blah, 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 and then not really understand. Like when Beverly goes, no, the scanners won't show everything. And then she was feeling around. My previous doctor was like that. He was the older guy. He could tell you. He didn't really rely on, if you have this symptoms and that symptoms. He really wanted to check you out. This one I thought was just a commentary of today's medical establishment, where it was just like, too much reliance on technology.
I just think that it's just a big step up in the writing and the caliber of acting that's happening in this season. And I just really hope they stick the landing, because I'm along for the ride. I'm loving this season.
No, plus they're all aboard a ship, which is cool. They didn't have in the first 2 years of Picard. They were on the Earth. They were in Los Angeles. It's like, wait a minute.
That's not necessarily true. Yes, I love that they're on the ship, but the storyline with Worf is engaging as well, even though it has Raffi in it.
You know what I heard? Someone verify this. I heard that Michelle Yeoh is out for Section 31, that show, and that Worf is coming in. And I don't know if that's true or not, but they said he might be.
That would be great.
When he said he's working for Starfleet as an operative, that was a wink, wink, nod, nod.
I really hope that they put the show on with him and that it's on Wednesdays, because beheadings are always on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
What I liked about the good writing was the fact that they, Geordi's daughter goes to C7, make sure she's okay, and says Commander 7. And then we got that scene in this week's episode to test if it's a changeling or not. And what's my name? Well, it's Commander Hansen. Bing. Yeah. And it's like, there you go. We got a little comeback. That's that. They planted a seed and it paid off.
And even Shaw recognized, maybe I should be calling her 7.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was definitely because they had that little back and forth when they were, separating the nacelles from the actual warp things there. That they were going back and forth. Like, I wish to God I didn't have to agree with you. She was saying things like that, because they were kind of like still at odds. And at the end of that, with that respect line, he's like, all right, good call. So it was a little bit,
They've got really good writing on there. Even the dialogue. It's a good show when you can remember the dialogue after it's over.
Frakes directed these episodes, so I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
No, but the one line that he says, that Shaw says when they're in the bar, he said, I was being an asshole so long that I use that instead of a personality. I'm like, that's a fucking great line, no matter what show you're watching. You could be Star Trek or whatever. I'm like, that's a cool character definition right there. Like, the reason why I'm like this is because it's easier to be an asshole.
No, I agree. The Wheeze says you're the crew of the Titan, and all of a sudden you have these legends come on and start running things. That would never happen on Picard's Enterprise. Well, Wheeze, what I would say in defense of that move was much like when Scotty showed up on the Enterprise D, with the exception of Geordi, everybody showed great deference to Captain Scott. And I hear what you're saying, but I'm like, I don't think Beverly. All I think Beverly was doing was simple triage, kind of. All right, let me see who's hurt and let me help you, rather than
doctor,
I'm not going to. What's that?
She was being a doctor. Yeah.
Yes. So, and absolutely, like, I agree. Shaw reminds me of Jellicoe in a good way. I totally agree with that. And yeah, you can see the pitchback certainly from Shaw, Weiss, absolutely. And I would also argue and have since the beginning that if Picard were faced as a captain of the Enterprise with the same scenario of, hey, we're here, we want you to change course. Why? Well, and then they give a bullshit answer. Picard would have maybe been a little more polite, but have been, I don't think so unless I get more information. I'm sorry. And again, my ship. So no, and I think Shaw's rightfully so. Like, hey, it's my ship, my rules. Back off, boys. Mm-hmm. And also, again, retired admiral, captain without a chair. I think that makes me the senior man, actually, guys. I don't know how to break it to you. So yeah. I mean, or Admiral Settee, the drumhead, that fantastic bottle episode where it's like McCarthyism. Everyone's suspected of being a Romulan spy, and she's a retired admiral. And then Picard's like, with due respect, no, you're wrong.
Well, it happened on the original series too, when that guy took over the ship where with Kirk, and he took over. I'm in command of the ship now.
Oh, you mean
Commodore Decker?
Yeah.
No, Doomsday Machine. Yeah, Commodore Decker. Yeah. Langley says, I hope that it's not Section 31 with Worf, because I hate the entire Section 31 TV show idea. 31 isn't Starfleet intelligence. It's more insidious than that. It's villainous deep space conspiracy stuff. Yeah, it's CIA wet works.
Oh, no. Section 31 is our friend.
So
only the Canadians in Starfleet believe that. Oh, they're nice guys. They
are nice guys, eh?
Yeah, the Canadian says that.
Yeah. They give us all the maple syrup, huh?
No. I know it's so weird to get on this show with you people and not have anything to complain about. I don't know.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Things. Goodbye.
Yeah, there's little nitpick things.
No, I know.
I think, as someone pointed out on another show, the Changeling having a bucket, and it's like, no, that was really Odo's thing. The Changelings just oozed all over the place. They didn't need buckets. So that was interesting.
But the Changelings did ooze all over the place, but they were in the great pool.
Yeah, they were in the great
pool. But when they were away from the great pool, they did need a place to go.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I guess.
They could go 10 forward and pour themselves into a keg.
And also, I don't know. What do you guys think of the whole? 10 forward has its own separate power unit, and it's kind of a sanctuary.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the holodecks?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah. You said 10 forward.
Well, it was
10 forward on the holodeck.
Yeah, the holodeck. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's back to trauma drama. And red alert, everything's intense. I need a place to hide.
No, the best is like, we're going to shut off life support. It's that bad. Things are that bad. But don't worry, we got a couple minutes. We got to go hug each other out.
Well, I didn't understand why they didn't go to the holodeck, because all life support is going down. But the holodeck, that runs on a separate thing, so they should be fine.
Worst comes to worst, they put themselves on a buffer, just like Frank.
Also, Riker did say, have the crew assemble in common areas to help preserve power. So they were doing that stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
And also, when Worf was talking in the previous episode where he got info from someone, that's Odo, right? That he got that info from?
Yeah, of course.
Is that what he's talking about, right?
Yeah, man of honor. Absolutely. No, it was, I mean, again, and also
picture of him today.
It was on Seven's pad.
Yeah, the data pad.
Photo of Odo and everything.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, now Rene Auberginois go, they even got him on the show and he's dead. Look at that. They throw that there.
I loved when he showed up on Prodigy when they were doing the Kobayashi Maru and Odo was part of the crew and everything.
Yeah.
That Dal
was cool.
Put together and everything. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And Weezer, I agree with you, man. Still, the show is too damn dark. Can't see anything. That's my complaint. Well,
it is a little dark.
It's submarine dark, And God, with the ship dying and slowly plummeting into the hole of that nebula or whatever.
Gravity well.
And I heard Metalis say, I wanted to do Crimson Tide. Well, he certainly did.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you know what? That's weird you mentioned that, because I had a problem this week on The Mandalorian because it's so dark. It was a scene where they're in a cavern. Literally, I can't watch these shows during the day. I almost have to wait till night so I can actually see what's happening on my screen because, we have sunlight coming into the room, but it's like, what the hell? I turned the brightness up as much as possible. I don't know if it's just all blue screen.
I think it's just because you're old.
I think of the glaucomas coming in quicker than they said, because it's like really hazy all of a sudden,
Chris has a good question, and I have an answer. Would Jack really have held a grudge against Jean-Luc based on that Starfleet is the only family I've needed line, considering Picard didn't know he had a son and Jack knew that? No, I think it fit, in my opinion, Chris. I'm glad you're here, Chris. Chris is a serious Star Trek guy, and I'm glad he's joining us as well. But no, I think it was consistent. And yeah, I mean, if anything, well, you certainly don't need me to reveal to you that I'm your son then if you have this attitude. And it is absolutely Picard, because Picard always said we don't have time for families or whatever. Yeah. And you know, he envied Renee and Robert's father-son relationship, something he couldn't have without realizing that he slipped it into Beverly at the gas.
Yeah, she knew she was pregnant that night. That's how good a captain he is when he delivers. Bang! Forget that test.
24th century medicine. Come on, you'd know right away.
Just press
Wham, bam! Oh, I'm pregnant. I know. Yeah.
Little plus symbol came right up on her. Bang.
But I did like her reasoning. I did like her reasoning for not telling Picard.
I like Chris's comment. Star Trek bridges are so dark these days because there are only 4 lights.
And Picard in the bar when he was talking to the cadets, he mentioned that the episode with the
talking, the wall fell. Yeah,
I love that.
Oh, absolutely. No, I loved him telling the cadets the stories, and also them like, hey, how about that time with the the hunter aliens from
Alpha. Yeah, they said
I can't remember their names, but it was great. And they're like, did Janeway tell you how to deal with the guy and everything? Because obviously Janeway had first contact with those aliens. No, was really good, and I liked him warming up and telling stories. I like that despite the bullshit of season 1 in particular, where you got Captain or Admiral Fuck You, and also the clerk. That's what you got to call Ann Magnuson, unfortunately. And then the clerk at the opening where he's at Starfleet name. And he doesn't know who he is. I like the cadets that are like, you know, obviously before the events of Picard and season 1, that no, man, he's a goddamn hero. You're damn right we want stories from you. How'd you handle this shit? That's fantastic. Herogen. Thank you, Bruce 1701. Yes, and Langley got it. The Herogen.
But I did like Beverly's explanation for, like, you know, because it really pulled it away from her having other kids and having the on again, off again affair with Picard. Her explanation fit. Like, I lost my parents, I lost my husband, I lost my son Wesley, and then I have this other kid with you, and I wanted to tell you, but then you were called away on this mission, and then you were in trouble here, and then you were going to die here, and you know what? Yeah, I don't want to tell him, because then it puts a target on his back. It makes
I could protect my son. I don't know if I could protect your son.
I loved that
was
line.
Great. Although, again, she's kind of a jerk for not telling him and giving him the opportunity to say,
"Oh, absolutely,
I could be more of a father and more, and maybe I would have taken less risks."
But that's where that line makes sense, because I can protect my son. But yeah,
yes.
Wait till he gets all that back child support stuff coming his way.
Yeah, well, Admiral's pay now.
Weez wanted to know if the 10 forward bar that Guinan now has in San Francisco exists in season 1. Yes, and in fact, it was 5 years before, or a couple years before the events of season 1. Where I have the problem with 10 forward in San Francisco is, man, again, these writers have no idea what happened prior to them taking over writing, because as we all know, why was 10 forward on the Enterprise D called 10 forward? Toss up question, boys, if you don't know.
Wasn't that the part of the ship that was like facing the
that is correct, Mitch. It was on deck 10, and it was the most forward part of the ship, hence 10 forward. Had nothing to do with the name of the bar other than that was where it was. And it made no sense that in the 21st century, young Guinan has a bar called 10 forward.
You think the writers on season 1 and 2 ever watched an episode of Star Trek? You fool.
No, I don't. I think they were given a character description of Guinan, and one of it was, well, you know, she had this bar on Enterprise D called 10 forward.
Well, maybe she did the bar in the 21st century.
Well, please.
And then when she was on the Enterprise, she was going, what did I do back in the 21st century?
Wayne Retcon.
I had a bar. 10 forward.
Let
me check the floor plans. I'm going to check the floor plans. Oh, there's a space on 10 forward.
Well, and I believe it might have existed before Guinan was the bartender there. I'm not certain of that. I don't make me rewatch season 1 of TNG to find that out or whatever. I thank you, bro. The bar's in LA. Whatever, bro. I don't care.
No, Doctor, what's his name? Thought of it on the first on the Captain Pike show. What was the old doctor's name? It's named after him.
Piper. Which doctor?
The old guy, the one that gave Pike the drink on the
Dr. Boyce.
Boyce, yeah, they named it after him. You didn't know that?
No,
might as well make some shit up too. Why not?
He retired from Starfleet and he got into the jam preserves business, and he made
Pepperidge Farm.
Remember? Yeah,
I was about to say that.
And then he was on Silver Spoon in the '80s, I believe, as the kid's grandfather.
Yeah, he was wishing people happy 100th birthday on the Today Show.
Either Silver Spoons or Give Me a Break. No, John Houseman, I think, was the grandfather on Silver Spoons. I think he was on Give Me a Break, and he may not have been a grandfather, but he was there. He was on that show. John.
Wow.
I love that.
Pull a reference.
Hey, whoa.
Back up next time.
I thought something was going to happen with Moriarty when they were on the holodeck, because it's like, wait a second, maybe this whole scenario is they're stuck in the holodeck and he somehow came out, because they keep hinting at that safety protocol. They showed him in the trailer for this thing. I'm like, when's he coming in there? Because he's lurking about.
We got 6 episodes. You got plenty of time.
Maybe this thing in space gave birth to more than just space jellies.
Now, were those supposed to be the Farpoint jellyfish things at the end? Because I'm like,
if that they certainly looked like them, and obviously Beverly made the connection. Yeah. And I love that Picard name-checked Farpoint, because it almost gives better legitimacy to that horrible story from the first Next Gen episode.
And now all these kids that are watching this season of Picard have to go back and watch all the Next Gens.
Well, we had that guy at Terrificon last year, Michael Bell, who played Prector. What was his name? Remember the guy? The guy that was in charge of Farpoint Station. I mean, he was there.
I don't remember his name.
I remember you from that episode. He goes, "Oh, you do?" I go, "I hated you on that show." What is happening? Remember they were lifting him up at the end, and
I love the way you treat your guest.
It's not his fault. It was a crappy character, man. I treat you well.
Chris says that was Grappler
Zorn. Yeah, that's it. Grappler.
Way to go, Chris. Thank you. Absolutely. No, guys, I want to show this moment from Rob Burnett's show.
I want to see it.
2 more questions.
He's
apparently he was Duke as well in G.I. Joe.
Yes, he was Duke from G.I. Joe, and he was on MASH as the guy that was stealing all the war souvenirs. If you wanted to know, you know now.
So I don't know, but I'm going to play this now. A good chance if everybody needs to pee, because it's like 3 minutes long. But Rob Burnett had Captain Sean last night. You'll see his name. I'm blanking right now. But I got to ask a question, and I felt like Shaw gave a really good detailed answer. So here we go.
Yeah. John Suntress, a fellow Chicagoan who is a broadcaster in Chicago, has sent in a tip. He has a word balloon podcast. He says, "Hey guys, way to go, Todd. Captain Shaw is an amazing character I'd love to follow in future stories. Would you ever want to write a Shaw Star Trek novel?"
I would, look, I would, I love any challenge, and I love digging in. I've never penned in this universe.
But you're a writer yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I did a version before James Gunn took it over. I did a version of Suicide Squad 2 draft with Gavin O'Connor.
Interesting.
I was part of that writing team. I wrote on a Star Wars video game. So I've had the honor of being and I'm currently working on a Captain America Black Panther game for Skydance New Media. I'm co-writing on that.
And you co-wrote a comic book as well, right?
I wrote that one. I wrote on my own, but I created it with an artist named Dennis Calero, who's a fantastic artist. But writing a Star Trek I've never written a novel, but writing a Star Trek novel would be an amazing challenge because it has its own lore and parameters and language and understanding of science in a way that you don't deal with when you're writing for
Andy Robinson, who plays Garrick on Deep Space Nine, wrote he wrote a Star Trek novel called The Stitch in Time.
That's fun.
And it's a terrific Star Trek novel. So there's precedent for
I
it.
certainly would love the challenge. I certainly would not. I don't think I would go it solo. I would certainly want the science advisor and somebody who speaks Trek.
Well, you know, Terry's friend, WGA president, and who won a WGA award, David Goodman, wrote the autobiography of Captain Kirk. You guys should write the autobiography of Liam Shaw.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would have been cool, Mitch. But no, I thought Stashwick was really interesting there. And I also appreciated his resume. Who knew he wrote comics? Who knew he wrote video games? That's pretty cool.
He did.
Well, yeah, I guess so. So, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And Lanley says he's writing on the Marvel Captain America Black Panther game. That looks awesome. And that Stashwick is a Trekkie himself. Very cool guy. Yeah, and also Metalis worked with him on 12 Monkeys. He was one of the main characters on 12 Monkeys. So he knows how to write to Stashwick as in his basic acting and character. And obviously that informed Captain Shaw. But that's great. And again, he's a great counterweight as opposed to Admiral Fuck You or other Star Trek adversaries that they introduced in Picard. Like the reason why makes sense, and also the way he came through in both 3 and 4, but especially in 4, being the grease monkey dipshit from Chicago, as he self-described. But that was awesome, and yeah, man, that was, again, all of them worked together to solve the problem, and everybody had something to do. Take notes, Discovery, as you leave the arena. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. Ugh, crap.
I think it's over, didn't they? So they filmed all of season 5 for Discovery. It's done.
Yes. The only thing they supposedly are going back to shoot is a wrap up because they didn't realize it was going to be the final season.
Oh, really? You don't think they saw it coming, huh?
No, I don't think they did. Which is interesting because I know season 3 going to season 4. Right. They kind of like gave themselves an ending, thinking that might be it. But and also both the reason why Discovery exists and the reason why it's going away is a lot bigger than its bad writing or bad execution. I don't know if this is true or not, but John Price, who did a hell of a lot more research than I did, swears that Discovery was created because of the Axanar fan film lawsuit. And that was part of their defense, even though they really weren't planning on doing it at the moment, that, oh, no, we have a Star Trek show in development that hits the same time period as the Axanar fan film. That's why it's messing us up, it being out there. And if they do more of it in there, this is why it's a conflict. And then supposedly the idea of Discovery was formed. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but the timing is close enough that it is worth discussion, and I don't know if we'll ever know, but that was really interesting.
Oh, and then I guess that's why they spent like $1 million on costumes.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, but again, and this is something that Rob Burnett brings up all the time. They went to, the big Les Moonves and the others at CBS Plus are like, can you do this for like only $1 million an episode or whatever? And it's like, no, you got rid of everything. We have to rebuild everything from the ground up. Really expensive sets, really expensive costumes, everything, because you destroyed it or you auctioned it all off. And that was something they were able to do with the Rick Berman era and the movies of Star Trek, was reuse so much stuff over and over again. The warp core in Voyager is the same warp core that was in Star Trek the Motion Picture in 79. So I mean that's the difference. And also now, obviously in Picard, Strange New Worlds, you can redress these sets and use them for the other shows. And I don't think Discovery ever made back the money that it cost to make this. And also they had that partner in Netflix that floated a lot of the initial Discovery money.
And then dropped it, right?
And now it's gone. Yeah. And now that relationship is gone. So,
plus, well, on Picard, a lot of that money that they would use on Discovery for sets and stuff probably goes to pay the actors, wouldn't you think? I'm sure Patrick Stewart's got a hefty paycheck.
At least for this season.
Yes, yeah. And that's why I don't think Romulan Legolas or any.
They got to save money.
Yeah, it's they didn't have the money to. Yeah, they didn't have the money to pay. And really, again, this is why you got to give the credit to Metalis. He had to make a show immediately, season 3, and make it inexpensive. And that's why it's great that it's on a ship and they could use standing sets. Someone in the chat had already said too, the reason why the holodeck looks like 10 Forward is another excuse to use that set. Fine. That's good.
Yeah.
Again, that saves money. It's okay. It's much better. It's much better. And I think, and also, yes, Langley, I agree. Discovery is the TV equal to the Kelvin films. Too expensive for too little return. And that was another thing that I think, because Sumner Redstone, the former head of Viacom, had decided to separate the two companies, Paramount and CBS, even though it was still owned all by him and the stockholders, you had this ridiculous barrier where CBS owned the intellectual property of Star Trek, but Paramount owned the rights to the movies. And it's like, well, then maybe we need our own thing because, again, this IP is too valuable for it to sit idly by from CBS terms. So all these factors, kind of happened in terms of creating Discovery. And now that these other shows are doing better, you can move on. It'll be very interesting to see now that this is the last season of Picard and Strange New Worlds is the only live action show standing once they burn off Discovery next year. Are they going to only have 2 live action shows a year? I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you think that's why they went towards animation too? Because it's cheaper?
Yes.
That's why they did Lower Decks and Prodigy?
Well, but also they had, again, much like Star Wars and much like Marvel, they said, we intend to be everywhere. We want to make animated shows. We want to make live action shows. We want to make shows for kids. That's good. I'm glad that they're thinking that way.
They just need a theme park now.
They used to have the Star Trek experience.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised they don't go to Universal and say, hey, we'll license this out to you.
Well, but again, it's Paramount going to Universal. It kind of doesn't make sense.
Well,
no.
Mitch, Marvel, for years, they have that stuff.
Yes, but Mitch, as I keep telling you, that was yesterday. And they don't think like that anymore. That's why we don't have DC Marvel comic book crossovers anymore. They want to make their own shit. And they don't want to be in business with somebody that makes similar shit. It's just that simple.
Well, there's always still weird standing things. Do you know that the MCU characters cannot appear in Florida because they're in California? Because in Florida, Universal has the comic book Marvel character. There's a weird thing I read somewhere about there's a reason why you don't see Captain America from Chris Evans out in Florida Disney World, but he's out there because there's some kind of conflict.
Yeah, as soon as the rights run out with Universal, those things are going to shift right over to Marvel, to Disney. Absolutely.
Yeah. Francis is correct. Yes. Whatever lingering deal, because I certainly remember when
unless they signed those great Marvel deals back in the day, and the rights will never revert back unless Disney backs up the truck.
Well, no, I was speaking of that. I was just talking to a friend of mine who makes movies. He's like, nowadays with all the digital deep fake and all that stuff and the de-aging thing, he goes, the contracts that these actors have now is crazy. Because I asked him about voiceover, how they modulated James Earl Jones' voice now so they don't need him anymore. They have a computer they could type in. And I said, what about all these other...
Well, he got paid for that.
I know, but I'm like, what about all these other animation voice actor guys that are out there now? Now they can just log into a computer and say, sound like Rob Paulson, sound like this guy, Maurice LaMarche, and the computer probably could do it. And they're like, no, these guys are going to get contracts that they have to pay them for their original voice. I'm like, it's a whole new world out there when it comes to likenesses and actors.
Well, yeah, because I just read a story where Keanu Reeves has made a stipulation in his contract that they can't do anything like that with him. Like it's in his contract. You can't deep faking him or anything digitally or audio wise.
Crazy.
With him.
Yeah.
But without his approval. He would do it if you get his approval.
Right. Yeah.
Shatner would do it in a second if he could.
Chris says that Universal did have a Star Trek adventure show where they included a couple of folks from the audience. The Wheeze asks, and I think I would love to see this. Strange New World spun out of fans embracing Anson Mount as Pike. Could we say the same thing with Todd Stash with a Titan series? I certainly hope so.
I would love that.
I'd watch that.
I kind of think we are going in that direction, and with Picard's son, LaForge's daughter, Shaw, and Seven, we could see a Titan series. I would love.
They got some Vulcans on that ship. That Vulcan woman, the bald-headed Vulcan.
Is she Vulcan or is she Deltan? That's the question. They haven't identified.
I thought she had the pointy ears.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, Mitch, you're probably right, but they haven't called it either way as far as what her race is.
Or she could be Romulan.
There was 2 Vulcans in the holodeck when the ship was going down. I could have swore I saw 2 of them. Like, they're all over the place on the ship now, So.
Fucking Vulcans. Not in my backyard.
Back in my day, there were no Vulcans.
We only had one on the ship.
With their logic and their bullshit.
With their green blood.
They came to the Elks Club the other day.
Copper-based bastards.
That's awesome. Bruce says she is a Vulcan. Mr. Vic says maybe she's both. I don't know. But I love it, and I'm glad. And again, we go back to was it episode 3 with Sneed? Or was it that was the second episode where the Ferengi?
Oh yeah, that was the second. That's when Worf showed up. Yep.
But again, it's like, thank God we have a Ferengi that talks as opposed to. Guys, I swear, watch Discovery and the times they show the Ferengi, and it's one of those background characters, and all he does is.
It's a deep fake.
It's like Morn. He didn't have anything to say. Just was there.
I met Morn. He's a cool dude.
Get out.
Yes.
He didn't say anything on that show. It was just a dude.
I was talking to him. He was nice and chatty.
Todd says Enterprise G was in the trailer. I thought F is the one that we're going to see. But maybe you're right. I don't know, man. Maybe that's how the show ends. Like
maybe they destroy. Yeah, they destroy the Titan, and they give.
What class is the Enterprise G, Todd?
New
because the last one was Sovereign.
Oh, I saw a great graphic I'll send you that shows all the different size comparisons, and they had some brand new Enterprise, and maybe that's the new one he's talking about because it was massive. I'm like, holy crap, how big is this thing?
Is it like a dreadnought?
And yeah, Langley's right. It's F, and F is being decommissioned for Frontier Day. Yes, if you watch the LCAR screens at the end of the show, you see that announcement that F is being decommissioned. Yeah, I have a feeling F is going to be at the Starfleet Museum with Geordi, and that's how we're going to get the F. We're going to get the F out of there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. What else was I going to tell? Oh, first of all, I love Chris Pine finally getting serious with Variety, and it's like, here's an idea. Why don't we make Star Trek movies for Star Trek fans instead of trying to make it something that it isn't? And I completely agree, and I think Metalis, much like Harv Bennett did with the original cast movies post the first Robert Wise movie, I can make real Star Trek and I can make it cheaper. And I think Metalis has shown that as well. And I hope that if they ever do get back to the movies, I don't know if they will. I really don't know if they will, because I think guys like Chris Pine are going to have to ask for a big pay cut. And I'm sure he's like, I'm not taking a pay cut. So
Carl Urban's got The Boys. All these people moved on, except for Zach Quinto. I haven't seen him lately.
He was in American Horror Story.
Yeah, he's got a new show now somewhere too.
Oh, he does? Okay. And Zoe Saldana's in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody's got other stuff. Yeah. They don't need that show.
And again, Michelle Yeoh, after her Oscar, I'm sure she's coming back to Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about that.
Bye. I'm sorry. I'm busy being a multi-million-dollar actor
I just saw an interview with her and speaking to my wife about how she was on Discovery and how I couldn't understand a freaking word she was saying, but I could understand it clearly in this interview. What the heck did they do? Why did
the voice?
It was so weird. I'm sorry, Mitch. I didn't interrupt.
No. We used to say that all the time. I couldn't understand half the time. I'm like, what?
It was like English was her third language. I mean, it was so awkward when she would say things. And you're right. I see her in interviews, and it's like, how the hell were they directing her?
I don't know.
Lots of notes.
What's that?
They gave her lots of notes. don't want to understand you.
Honestly, I used to put the subtitles on. I was like, I can't understand what the hell's happening on this show.
But yeah, there's still more mysteries. We don't know. Someone had asked earlier in the chat about, do we know who Worf's
handler is?
Yeah, handler. If there is a handler, I don't know. Worf could really be as he said, I'm not with Starfleet Intelligence. I'm working independently.
Yeah.
And again, with the information that Odo apparently gave him, maybe he is just doing this on his own.
Work for hire.
And he's like dressing casually now.
Yeah, he is.
Beheadings are on Tuesday. Or on
Wednesdays.
He's like a man called Worf. It's like a man called Hawk. He just shows up with that big long knife of his, like Hawk.
I didn't know. Someone had said in the chat that Worf, is this true, was announced to be doing a DC book.
Oh, I read that. Yes.
Oh.
About Steel. I think he's working with someone on a book about Steel. Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Well, I'm gonna have to bug my DC people to get Michael Dorn on the show.
And I know Michael Dorn, when he was on the Shuttle Pod podcast, talked a lot about working with Michelle Hurd. So I don't know how much interaction he's going to have with the rest of the crew, but he said, I just love working with Michelle Hurd all the time.
I think he was smart enough to confine comments to that first act,
right,
and didn't want to give away more. It would really disappoint me if all their scenes are away from the rest of the original cast. But we'll see. I have a feeling that
we haven't seen Geordi or Brent Spiner yet. Right. So
more.
Yeah, I think it's and again, what Rob telegraphed from what he saw from the 10 episodes, that we are going to see everybody's. He said it's going to take a while.
Yeah, I'd say like episode like 9 or 10. That's when they get together. That's when the band gets all together.
Sure.
Well, that's fine.
Sure.
The other thing I was wondering, if we're going to see Rick Sanchez show up, because someone's really messing around with portal technology.
From Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty. It took me a minute, but yeah, Rick and Morty.
Well, yeah. That was wicked portal technology, and it was really big. And Rick could actually show them how to make it smaller into the form of a gun.
I have a portal gun. I have a Rick and Morty portal.
So do I.
No, and also other people were comparing to Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
as well, and I saw that.
With the rings.
Fine. Whatever, it's okay. Langley, the big question: will we see Wesley Crusher this season? I'm going to say I don't know. I was going to say something else, but I'll say I don't know for Mitch's purposes. I'll just say I don't know.
Well, no, we did see him. He was in a photo. I think he was in a photo somewhere.
Well, but of course that's
enough.
That's enough. Are you Sean Ferrick?
That's enough.
That's enough. Absolutely, that's enough.
Wayne, how come you weren't on the Trek cruise last week? I knew a bunch of people were on it.
No, I just I had stuff I had to do here.
All right, because I saw Terry Farrell. Terry Farrell was on it. Sirach Lofton.
It's just a drunk fest.
My favorite, Nurse Chapel.
Yes.
Yeah, she was. Jess Bush was on there. And they were all talking Trek, and I'm like, I wonder what secrets were revealed on board the high seas.
You need to get Terry Farrell, Marina Sirtis together, get them a lot of drinks, and they'll
tell you everything you want to know.
They'll tell you everything you want, because I heard at one of those cruises, this was at the Vegas convention, they were sloshed for a good chunk of it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to find out. Come July 28th to the 30th at Terrificon when Terry Farrell joins us.
I was going to say, that sounds like me at Mitch's show, sloshed all the time.
Oh, he is. Got to pour him in. Like you saw Odo in that bucket. Wait till you see Franco get poured into his cube. Be there for 3 days. He'll be teaching KidsCon. Hey, kids.
Don't forget the milkshakes at 3 a.m. for milkshakes.
That's right.
That's funny. Can you imagine being the little brother living in Wesley's shed?
Exactly.
Your brother can full
time. Your brother can full time.
Jack is such a disappointment.
Yeah. He's a traveler. What are you?
Yeah.
I'm Picard's son. What are you?
I wear this baseball cap and pretend to look young in a bar when I'm really 34 years old. I'm like, wait a minute.
He looked like Taron Egerton.
He did.
Eggsy from the King's
Secret. Yeah. I was like, that kid's familiar. Should have got him.
Eggsy. Great. I'm Picard's son. I love. He said, "Bob's your uncle," and I'm like,
he did. I was thinking, yeah.
They explained the English accent. They explained
French. Because like Picard, it's French.
Yeah,
he went to school in London, and he picked up the accent. He never dropped it. They explained why he had the English accent.
Well, just like Samantha Wayne in Pennyworth, because they're living in London. The daughter, she speaks perfect British. She's in English accent.
Oh, hello, mommy. Oh,
pretty much.
Another canceled show.
But but it got a couple of seasons. They did fine. It did
longer than I thought. I'm like, they made a movie about
Pennyworth. Pennyworth's good.
It was kind of a weird. It was like a weird Avengers show.
It was
like
an Elseworld show,
like Patrick McNee Avengers.
Yeah. Right.
Oh no, it absolutely totally leaned into '60s British spy stuff. Absolutely.
Oh, totally mod.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
You didn't know what the hell year it was taking place. I'm like, is it the '60s? I don't know. '70s.
Well, and all the episode names were like name checking all of these characters from Thunderbirds and the Avengers and all these things. It was hilarious. No, I'm a big Pennyworth fan. And Mitch, you had the article today about Shatner's documentary.
Don't want to upset anybody out there watching, but 91-year-old actor, soon to be 92, his birthday's in a week. William Shatner has revealed that he doesn't have much more years to live, and he's still got some things to say, and it's all going to be revealed in his brand new documentary coming soon.
Legion M is producing that documentary. That's that company that says, hey, if you want to invest in our company, you could be a partner in these nerd projects that they do. And they did one with Stan Lee before he died. And now they're doing one with William Shatner before he dies. I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
So just before you die, contact these guys.
Ooh, that's what it seems to be.
No thanks. I'm gonna keep that for a
while. I'm excited for this week's episode. I think it's going to be, or next week's episode. I think it's going to be interesting.
No, go back to Shatner for a minute. You don't want to hear any more from Bill?
Oh, please! If you had more, it seemed like.
No, I'm asking you. I mean, have you heard everything possible after 50-something years?
Yes.
Bill Shatner, has he told us everything we ever?
Well, he's going to talk about he already did in a different documentary, but he's going to talk about flying in space.
Yeah.
No, hey man, I give him a hell of a lot of credit. Listen, everybody ages differently, and you see how slowly Patrick Stewart speaks. Shatner bounces around like he's 65 years old.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think this summer he's also going to be in Ticonderoga at the.
He's going to be doing some conventions. Yep.
No, I agree, man.
God bless him. 92 is absolutely not taking it away from him.
No, I God bless him. Let him may his years continue. There was a new ad for Paramount Plus, and they had all the Star Trek represented up there. Well, I should say all the TV Star Trek represented, and of course, near the center they had all the brand new shows. Like Burnham was at dead center, and then Anson Mount and Picard and OK Fine, the animated shows. But then when they got to the other legacy shows. For the original series, you see Nichelle Nichols and Leonard Nimoy, no William Shatner.
Really?
Like, come on. You people are such jerks. Remember for Star Trek Day, they had the poster and Shatner's picture was like, everybody else like, hey, this big. And Shatner's way in the back. Hey, I know
maybe they got to pay him.
Honestly, Mitch, even if they do, fuck you, CBS, pay him. He is the original hero. I'm sorry. It infuriates.
Until you meet him.
And I'm sure he's an asshole to negotiate with, but he's still the man. He's still Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry. It's you can't deny. And also the fact, that's true. Yes. Langley is right. They refuse to pay. They're notoriously cheap.
Well, I was going to say he is only that way because somebody made him that way. You always got to think the other side of the coin. It's like, why is he such a vindictive ass? Because they treated him like shit, and this is payback. I mean, you can't say, well,
according to George Takei and the rest of them, he kind of was that way back then too.
Oh, yeah, but if George Takei had said nice things about him, it wouldn't sell books. What are you going to do?
Well, and also, I get when Shatner says, "I'm sorry, the constants on the original series." were me, Leonard, and DeForest. That's it. That's why they're in the titles. Yeah. Everybody else would show up for an episode and then not be there for the next month. And it's true. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's the supporting original series, and rightfully so, their egos got inflated by those 70s conventions when all us fans just showed them nothing but love. And it's like, oh, wow, I guess we were a big deal. Okay, fine. And then when it was time for the movies, I don't blame them for being divas. Well, what's my moment? I was listening to Inglorious Treksperts, and they were talking to a guy who wrote one of the Marvel Paramount comic series from the late 90s. And it was this series. It was only 5 issues, and it focused on the years between the first motion picture and the Wrath of Khan. And the whole point was what happened in between the first movie and the second movie. Mm-hmm. And he happened to be the fourth issue was about all the supporting characters, but mostly it was a Sulu story where Sulu is left in command. Mm-hmm. And they were at a comic convention together, and this buddy of the comic writer convinced him to go up to George Takei and talk to him. And he's like, just so you know, I just wrote a Marvel comic about you. Well, was I a captain? And he's like, well, no, it took place during the original, the between the first 2 movies. Yeah. Well, I don't know if people would be interested if I'm not a captain. And he really just kept belaboring the fact that I should have been a captain in the story. And he's like, but you were in command of the ship. Yes, but I wasn't a captain. And Shatner's right. It's like, great, we'll make you a captain, but that means you're out of the movie because you've got your own ship. And they're not going to spend as much time as evidenced by Star Trek 6. I mean, he did get a few good scenes and everything. But
say it. Fly her apart. Go ahead, say it.
Well,
awesome.
Fly her apart then. Yeah.
That's what Will Wheaton was going like when he was trying to renegotiate his contract. They said, oh, no, what we'll do is we'll promote you. Going, well, no, I'd rather have the money.
Yeah.
And I would like the opportunity to be in Valmont, the movie that, what's his face made? John Milius. Was it John Milius? I forget who directed it.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. And that was like another version of Dangerous Liaisons, essentially. Mm-hmm. And he was going to be like the Keanu Reeves part. And no, you're really important in this season. And then it was, Phaser's arm captain. And basically said that was Rick Burnham telling him, we own you, shut the hell up. No, you don't get to go and make big movies. And that's lousy. Lousy.
If you ever watch or you ever listen to the Michael Rosenbaum podcast, the guy that played Lex Luthor on Smallville, Frakes was just on it.
Yes.
And they asked him about, did he know all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes with Will Wheaton and his family and his parents? He said, we have no effing clue. I mean, he was like everybody else. He wasn't like a kid. He almost acted like an adult on the set. So they didn't know there was all this backstory. But then you realize he's like 16 years old, maybe 14 or something. On that show.
I'm assuming his parents were mentally abusive to him, or
that's what I guess that's what's Wheaton's coming out and saying all these things that have happened over the years. But
no, it's terrible, man. Yeah, and Langley says it too. Yeah, Mel Wheaton had a messed up childhood. Yeah.
You don't know.
Well, and again, I mean, it's like who else declared emancipation from their parents? Another child star, and it's tough.
Britney Spears.
Certainly more recently, absolutely. But I was thinking like Home Alone. Did Macaulay Culkin do that as well?
I guess.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but I know that there are other child stars recently and everything that
I believe that a lot of them around that time did it too. Like they become emancipated because this way they don't have to have their parents on set and they can work longer than the 3 or 4 hours, because then they have to do the schooling and all that other stuff. So I think that a lot of them do that so this way that they can skirt around that whole thing.
Inside of You. Yeah. The podcast is Inside of You, by the way.
Yeah, Peter Beiser is Inside of You. That's the Rosenbaum podcast. And Langley says they forced him to be an actor for the money. His mom was a washed-up actress and lived through him.
Oh.
And yes, and Alicia Silverstone did it to work longer hours. Very good. So there you go. Crazy. Any other? Again, there was a lot of Trek talk between Discovery going away and these two episodes. That's why it's predominantly been a Trek conversation. I've only watched half of the first episode of Mandalorian. I like what I've seen. I'm enjoying it so far. I heard second episode's even better, so that's good to know. And then, in fact, Wayne, you said that the story's moving a lot faster.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get to see Mandalore.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Though. Hey, here's the question I said earlier to my friend in Australia. We were doing our other show. Why isn't Disney making any sequels to the Daisy Ridley, the last batch? I mean, there's as far as I know, there's no big comic book series, there's no big novelizations. They're still doing, Marvel's doing Luke, Han, Leia stories. They'll do some Anakin, Obi-Wan stories. But I don't know, is there a moratorium, like don't touch those characters? Or there's still such bad taste in people's mouths from that last trilogy they're not going to make money on it, so they don't even bother milking it and making more further adventures of.
I'm gonna go and say that it's one of those two things.
I think it's the latter, and also I don't know what's happening in the novels because I know, and I should really ask Charles Soule, who we'll see at C2E2. As far as what's going on with the sequel heroes, there was a Poe Dameron comic series. I don't believe there was a Daisy. There wasn't a Rey series, and
Poe did appear in one of the animated series as like a supporting character.
Yeah. No, what Charles Soule's doing, he writes these books about the Jedi Knight Order, but it takes place like 1,000 years before Yoda and all those guys. So that doesn't. I was just curious because it's like, damn, man, I thought they would have been all over that by now. Like, hey, the next movie coming out.
If they were smart, they would think about a TV show or a movie to show that character to really kind of like retrofit the movies to make them fit a better existence.
Well, I much like Star Wars sequels problem, I keep asking people in 10 years from now or in the next subsequent years, how many Discovery novels and toys and things will be made. I know they're making a Saru statue. They might be making a Michael Burnham statue. That X09 company that's like Sideways. Is it Sideways?
Sideshow.
Sideshow collectible.
Thank you.
Sideways involved wine.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That was a movie.
And Paul Giamatti and Thomas H. Yes. Yeah, right. But I wonder if Discovery is like,
I just think
all right, that was that, and we will never talk about it. Much like Peter and Mary Jane's male baby in the Clone Wars, it's like, or the Clone Saga.
They don't talk about that.
Well, Mayday still shows up every now and then. They can't kill Mayday.
They don't merchandise the Enterprise show with Scott Bakula. They do Deep Space Nine. They do Next Gen, Voyager.
They did do a handful of books, and I don't know what the future is for Berman Trek being novelized because they ended that continuity with that Coda 3-part thing. But they did do some post-series Enterprise books. In fact, in the novels, Trip was brought back to life and working for Section 31, unfortunately.
Okay. Hallmark does do Discovery ornaments for Christmas.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, they do.
I thought, I'm sorry.
I'm not making it up.
You're making fun of it, but
no, they do. There was a
that's while it was current.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And that's what I'm saying, because there have been tons of Deep Space Nine novels. There have been tons of Next Gen novels. There have been several Voyager novels after the shows. I will be very curious if Pocket Books or whoever has the novel license moves forward with Discovery stories. I'm saying no.
I'm going to say, wouldn't it be weird if they're doing Lower Decks merchandise years from now and not Discovery? You're like, whoa.
Aren't they already doing more?
Well, they have
Decks than they are of Discovery.
They had a comic. I don't know if they're making toys and all that, but maybe.
Isn't that more than what Discovery's done so far?
I saw Amigo.
Discovery had some IDW comics.
Yeah, they had Amigo version of Burnham and Saru.
Oh, they've come out.
In the IDW comics, they even had a comic about Book's cat. And I'm just like, wow, you guys are trying way too hard.
Come on.
Listen,
a book about a cat, it'll sell.
I don't see any action figures with those.
Come on, Grunge is amazing. Season. I love that cat.
Stick to Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly's Star Trek book with Cisco, and Chris Cantwell this month is coming out with the Worf book, Star Trek Defiant.
Oh, there you go. That's cool. Hey, I'll tell you one. All you got to do is walk around the Star Trek convention.
Again, Langley's like, there's Discovery action figures now because there's a series on TV now. I'm talking about after the fact, Langley, and I don't want to get sharp, but this is my point. It's like, no, that's great, but will Discovery be a fond memory?
You know what? Stand the test of time, basically.
You know when you see an action figure on the box that says the name of it? Imagine if you go and it says the Bridge Crew. That lady on the side with the thing on her head. That's her.
That's a real long descriptor. Exactly.
Long description.
Those will be the ones coming from China.
Mitch, I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but I dine on the story of the talent booker who said, "Do you want the Discovery Bridge Crew?" And you're like, "I don't know their names.
I don't know
they're
their
real
names."
popular." And it's like, hey man, I'm a Star Trek fan. I don't know.
No, and I even said I watch it. Not only do I watch it, we're on a podcast and we talk about it, and we still struggle to figure out the folks' names. And then when we remember, like, oh yeah, that's it. And by the time the next episode comes, we've totally forgotten. We were getting good for a while. We were like towards the end of Discovery. We knew most of the people, I think. We knew Gray. And Gray.
There you go. There you go. Proving the point right there. Gray.
You know, and I even saw an article about wait till you see what we do with Gray and Adira. That's her.
Adira.
Wait till you see what we do with them next year. And it's like, well, we're still kind of waiting since season 3 when you introduced them.
I'm waiting for Tilly to come back, for God's sakes. I thought
Kurtzman announced
Tilly
a Star Trek Academy series potentially set in Discovery's future. So if there might be a Tilly thing, maybe that's what's going to happen.
And Tilly's coming to Vegas.
There you go.
And I believe Tilly shows up in season 5. I think they have said that. So, by the way, that sounds like a dirty 30s movie. Tilly's coming to Vegas. Yeah. Did Mae West make that movie back in the 30s? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with W.C. Fields.
Yes, Tilly, man. Tilly's Punctured Romance. That was that's a silent movie from the teens, and I believe that's Charlie Chaplin's first appearance. But it was I can't remember her name though. The actress, the Marie Dressler, who became she was a big silent star, and then had a nice resurgence till the end of her life in the 30s and early 40s and stuff, making movies. But yeah, sorry, I know nobody cares. Nobody cares. Yeah. Stanley wants to know: are we interested in watching Shazam 2? I'm hearing good advance notice on Shazam 2.
Next weekend.
I'm going to see it Thursday.
And I'll be looking to see how high Jerry and Mitch are
on that review. Yeah, well, we're seeing an afternoon show.
Okay.
Thanks for inviting me.
The early bird special. Okay, you're more than welcome. Because let me tell you, when I went to buy the seats or pick the seats, that theater was very empty.
But I don't get advance notice of these things.
Don't you have to cross state lines to make that happen, Francis?
Yeah, you would. You have to drive a good 50 minutes.
No. Yeah. That's why I'm not going.
I'm still 2 episodes behind on the Ark, or 1 episode.
Oh, it's good.
I'm all caught up. Come on.
Loving it, and I'm really.
Quantum Leap is, especially the last episode, was really good.
I'm an episode behind.
The Ark, a good friend of mine is like, she's like, oh yeah, there's this new Sci-Fi Channel show, and it's all a bunch of 20-somethings stranded in space. And I'm like, yeah, the Ark. She's like, yeah, I hate that. And I'm like, yeah, but they explain why it's a bunch of inexperienced 20-somethings in space. In the first episode, I'm thinking
the show's pretty good.
I think it's great.
I'm liking the show. It's pretty good. The graphics still are a little they're jarring.
But Sci-Fi Channel doesn't have that budget, so that's
again, I'm still watching and I'm saying I like it.
And since it's on Sci-Fi, it's only going to get 3 seasons.
That's right. Don't get too used to it. I'm watching that other show on Apple TV with Billy Crudup or whatever his name is, about the guy with the moon.
Yes,
and Hank Azaria.
Selling land on the moon, yeah.
Hank Azaria is like this degenerate gambler guy. I love that part of it. But Pill, what's her name? From Allison Pill from
Agnes.
She's on that show too. Yeah.
I like that we had the extra. Agnes.
Yeah, and she was the great drummer in Scott Pilgrim.
That's her.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And she was half annoying, half not annoying in Newsroom.
Yeah, still don't
like. I remember Newsroom. Olivia Munn. Yeah, I forgot she was in it. Olivia Munn.
Another faker.
Oh, I know, but I don't care.
Langley says, I know you refuse to watch out, but you're really missing out on Last of Us great television. I hear you, bud. That's cool.
Oh, no, that is a good show. Yeah, I watched that this week.
Yeah, and the last episode, which is this weekend, is like 30-plus minutes, tops. It's a short one.
Yeah.
It's the last episode, so I don't want to hear it.
It's all right.
Well, it's not on yet, Franco. It's okay.
Oh, the one coming up Sunday. It's
coming up Sunday.
Yeah.
It's only like about 35 minutes long.
That's
but I missed the last one, so I don't.
Oh, then you'll got an hour and 35 minutes to catch up on.
Yeah.
And we set the clocks ahead so he can even make it longer.
Yeah.
I know. Spring ahead. I know. That's when we're going to be zombies for like at least a week, if not longer.
Yeah, I know.
But
it's like,
aren't you guys like proposed the sunshine law? That's been proposed.
Yeah, they had the sunshine law. People were driving off cliffs. They had to stop it.
Because up here we're just waiting to see what you guys do.
Yeah.
Have
you found those Chinese weather balloons that we shot down yet? Have they washed up on shore? They shot a couple of them down up there.
I appreciate the arguments on both sides about making daylight savings time permanent, because it would be weird in December when it doesn't get sunlight till 8 o'clock in the morning.
Most Americans agree that it's a bad thing and they want to do away with it. However, they can't decide which hour to keep.
Yeah,
basically, that's where everybody's split.
Yeah, the weird thing is most Americans can't tell time.
I've been on this show too long.
And also, if we get rid of it, Europe still does it. So that's all key as well.
Yeah, Europe does a lot of things.
They talk different languages too. Bastards.
Yeah, they use a different type of system to
measurements.
measure.
Some of them drink warm beer.
Everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sonny, of course, the Oscars, and
plus no offense, they're foreigners.
Hey,
my guy's gonna win.
Okay, let me for the audio audience explain what we're talking about, sir. Before you start talking, yes, the Oscars are Sunday, and yes, Mitch has Short Round as a guest. That's awesome.
No, I don't have him. He's just a friend of mine. That's all. I talked to him the other day.
I apologize. But yeah, I have not seen every Academy Award nominated film.
You only need to see one.
Which one?
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
The one that wins. Watch that one.
I really hope it wins. I really hope it wins.
I gotta watch it still.
On Showtime.
Good movie.
Is it on Showtime?
Don't have it.
Well, then I don't know what to tell you.
Don't have it.
You can rent it for $20.
I could.
I watched The Black Hole last night. First time I ever saw it. 50 years took.
Really? That's shocking, man.
I saw it in the theater.
Oh well.
Yeah, same year as the motion picture as Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maximilian Borgnine, Ricky Schroeder,
Robert Forrester.
Yes, Ricky Schroeder,
Maximilian Schell, Yvette Mimieux.
You know what? I love Yvette Mimieux.
She just passed away, actually.
Ooh. But I hated in the trailer, even as a kid, when Ricky Schroeder says, "I may be a kid, but I'm not stupid," and it's like, all right, sit down.
I'm never gonna watch it.
I fell asleep during it. So,
what's on Amazon, Mr. Vic? Is it Everything All at Once, or is it?
Or The Black Hole?
Black Hole's on Disney Plus.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And it starts with an overture, which is weird.
I was going to say the exact same thing. It was the last year where films had overtures.
Yes, I was trying to think.
Star Trek also had those as well.
And they came out within like 2 weeks of each other. I'm like, has there been one since that had that? Because I remember going in to Star Trek and the lights went out and then just heard music. We're all like, is the film broke? What's going on? There's like no picture here, you know?
It's everywhere is on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. I just checked.
Well, now you got no
Amazon Prime for freeze?
For free.
Yeah.
Gotta watch it.
I'm watching this weekend.
Yeah. Play movie.
Oh my.
Good.
Oh
it's
my.
Good.
Gonna watch it now.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's Canada. That's Canada Amazon, so it doesn't count.
That's right.
Hey,
that's true.
Down here. Has anybody been watching Carnival Row season 2?
No.
Not yet.
No. I watched Harrison Ford's 2 TV shows.
Oh. Okay, and I don't know if Wayne remembers this show. I'm betting Franco doesn't. Maybe Mitch does. 1979 on NBC. They had that show Cliffhanger.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wayne, I'm so glad you know this show.
With Dracula.
One was a vampire story.
Yeah.
Michael Nouri was Dracula.
Gwendolyn Pitstop.
Susan Anton.
Yes.
Was, stop whatever her name was, a Brenda Starr roving reporter.
Penelope Pitstop, basically. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But the other story was the Phantom Empire, which is that ridiculously insane early 30s Gene Autry goes underground and sees all these futuristic society things, and they did a modern version of it. And there's 11 episodes that are on YouTube. And I was crying watching them. It was fan. And the Michael Nouri Dracula thing was actually pretty good.
Was it the Dracula storyline that was the only one that they completed?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another show on called The Quest with Perry King that no one watched.
Yes.
Remember The Quest?
Tim Matheson was in The Quest, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, he was. It
was and what's his face?
Marty Engel.
Kurt Russell and Barbara Hershey.
I don't remember Kurt Russell, but Barbara Hershey.
Well, the Quest that I'm thinking of, it was the three of them. It was Tim Matheson, Kurt Russell, and Barbara Hershey. And Kurt Russell was a white man raised by Indians, but they were all I think brothers and sister or whatever.
No, I'm thinking it was a TV show. It's what's the Wacky World? They were all on a quest to find some treasure, and Perry King was on it, and a bunch of other people, and it only ran for a couple episodes.
Yeah, no, you are talking. John has it. There is a Western show.
Yes.
Called The Quest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had Kurt Russell, Tim Matheson, Dan O'Hurley, Eric Estrada.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure he played a Native American on that show. When I interviewed Tim Matheson, he brought it up, and I'm like, I love The Quest. And he said, yeah, until Charlie's Angels debuted and they put it up against us. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But it was awesome that he's like, sure, you love the Quest until Charlie's Angels showed up. And I'm like, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm watching more and more old stuff. I actually watched The Sting the other night.
Ooh.
It's The Sting. Robert Redford, Paul Newman, Robert Earl Jones, who's James Earl Jones' dad. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's the con man.
He's Luther. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I find older shows.
What did I watch the other day? All the President's Men. I watched.
Love that movie. Love that movie. No, the 70s is a great decade of movies. Sting, Ray Walston, Harold Gould.
Charles
Durning.
Charles Durning's the cop, and Dana Eclair. He was on. The bald guy was on MacGyver. He was the FBI agent.
That's right. That's right.
Been 25 years old or so. Eileen Brennan. Yes. She's in that too. Yep. But you know what I found was weird? They filmed that in Chicago, John?
Yes, they did.
So the street, I'm thinking, wow, how they redress the streets, but we're talking 1970. That took place in the 30s. So it's only been about 40 years. I got to imagine that most of Chicago still kind of looked the same.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. But also the L tracks, the way they're situated.
Yeah, they ran on that thing. Yeah.
Above the city streets that the L tracks are above. And yeah, that great chase on the L stop. Yeah, that's a famous South Side L stop.
Oh, and then they're in the train station, and I noticed that Newman and Redford are there, and in the background, there's those stairs. I go, those are the stairs that are going to be in the Untouchables with the baby carriage years later. I'm like, oh my God, Chicago's the place to be, baby.
Yeah, Union Station. No, Union Station is beautiful. It really is. And it's one of those throwback structures that thankfully has stayed up and they haven't changed it and stuff. So, yeah.
And what about that street corner there? Was that just a set? They're watching down. There's a little pharmacy or a soda shop.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But as Langley says, they were still filming 30s gangsters movies in the 90s in Chicago. And even though it was the 80s, The Natural, they did a great job of finding the right locations in Chicago.
Yeah. It looked like that scene in The Untouchables when the little girl walks out with the bag. Mister, you forgot your bag. And it blows up. I go, that's the same damn corner, man. Don't go to that corner.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, you and your Chicago, what's the guy that plays? He played the marshal on The Mandalorian. He was also in Deadwood. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Timothy Oliphant.
Timothy Oliphant. He was in Chicago filming some TV show.
Justified.
Yeah, he's coming back with it. They got a huge gun battle When he's there, he said they're all hiding behind the cars, and there's like two gangbangers driving around with 100 machine guns going off, and one of the security guys there's an off-duty cop. He goes home, there's a bullet hole in his arm or in the sleeve. He didn't get hit, but he's like, the next day they all sat around, they go, should we really be filming in these neighborhoods, or maybe we should just move the production somewhere else, because you can get killed when there's bullets flying by and stuff.
For all those Chicago PD, Chicago Hope,
yeah,
Chicago Fire, or whatever, the Chicago Med rather, there's a great television production facility that's on the South Loop, and it is butt up against one of the really tough neighborhoods. And I mean, it's really it's got enough property that it's not like, hey, next door there's a crack house or anything, but it's close enough. And yeah, it's Langley probably knows better than I do. I forget the name of it, but I've been there. That's where Powers, the Bendis Sony TV show that he made, originally was going to be shot in Chicago, and they shot a pilot there with a completely different cast. And what's his face from the Lost Boys, the older brother, and God damn it, I can't think of his name now. But Charles Dutton Rock was in it, and Lucy, the British comedian actress Lucy Punch, was the original choice to be the female cop in Powers. But I can't think of his name, and he's a real jerk. The guy that played Walker, Jason Patrick. Thank you, Langley. Very good. It was a really rough shoot. Bullet Tooth Tony from the Guy Ritchie movies.
Will Wheaton was in that season 2 of the Powers, if I recall. He played a reporter.
No. Again, I'm not talking about the Sony. I'm not talking about when it was made at Sony. I'm talking about when it was originally going to be an FX series.
Oh, okay.
This was a separate production. Yeah. And Brian was here the whole summer, overseeing and shooting the show and everything. And I still haven't seen. He's got a DVD of the unseen pilot, and I would love to see it. I'm gonna have to bug him next time I'm in Portland to make him show it to me, but or put me in a room and let me watch it for an hour or whatever.
Whatever happened, Brian Bendis? Aren't you supposed to say hello?
Hello.
Whatever happened to the one that was on Sony? Where is all that content nowadays? Is that DVD?
It was it is, and it was on Crackle, Sony's free channel with commercials for a while. I don't know where it is right now. But yeah, and in fact, as Brian said, they got more viewers on Crackle than they did when it was part of. You had to have PlayStation.
We did here at the house. I remember my kid watching. Go, who the hell is going to watch this? Because it was like you had to download the app and put on your video game machine to watch. I'm like, this is dumb, So what are you going to do?
I don't know. I mean, again, you look at all the streamers that stuck with it, but yeah, Sony decided not to.
Speaking of Chicago, I've recently watched a really great Chicago movie, The Blues Brothers in 4K.
Yes, I have that.
Chicago Nazis. Illinois Nazis.
No, that's a time capsule, man. That is 19.
That is.
The movie came out in 79, but it was shot in 78. And that is a time capsule of what Chicago looked like in 78. And there's so many great downtown scenes, and especially having worked in downtown, it's like, oh, that's right. The bus station used to be there. And now it's a parking lot for one of the big theaters that are, in the downtown area and stuff. No, it's insane. I love watching that movie. I love watching it.
Yep. There's actually some extra footage on that 4K because I was watching. What the hell's this? I never saw this before. Like little extra, like 10, 20 minutes more of the movie.
Nice.
Yeah, there's an it's like an unrated cut.
Yeah. You find out more about the band.
Yeah,
and some of the stuff they were doing.
Well, and as I understood it, and I remember it from the novelization, Jake went to jail because he stole money to pay the band.
Yep. Yeah. That book written by who? Miami Mitch. That's the book. Miami Mitch Horowitz wrote the book. I still have it.
I did not know that.
Along with the Blues Brother Confidential book that came out. Do you remember that? By Judith Jacqueline Belushi that had all their stuff? Did you know that they're not really brothers? They were just friends, and Belushi's character's name was Jake Papa George, and Elwood was Elwood Delancey. They were just, orphans from
the orphanage.
Yeah, they weren't actual brothers. So
just watched
Taxi just going like that.
Hold on. Peter points out, just watched Taxi Driver in 4K, like a documentary of New York City in 75.
Yes.
And pretty amazing.
That is a good movie. See, go watch old movies.
Oh, The Deuce. If you want New York in the 70s, The Deuce is amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
I like it when Chaykin says, you know, any of those porn shops, you would have seen me in the corner.
That's what he says. He goes, if you squint really hard, I'm in the background in a lot of those episodes. And absolutely. No, I love, man, Howard kills me. Hey Kids Comics, new volume coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
cool. One issue is going to be about an incident that happened at Terrificon. Just
saying. That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. I love Howard. I really
do. Does it involve
ashes? Make sure you read that one.
Howard, I'm so glad that Howard is clean and sober and happy with himself and is enjoying life a lot more than he did for a couple decades. And I'm so glad that he thinks I'm funny and likes to see me when he sees me. It means the world to me because I've always been a fan.
Oh, I love Howard.
Yeah.
Every time I see him, he says I look like Paul Scheer.
You do.
Well, you
when you're clean shaven, and you got better teeth than him.
Yeah,
exactly.
So once I do that, there you go.
See that.
Absolutely.
And then, when I was at Cincinnati, I was compared to by the cast from Batman the Animated Series. They say, "Oh my God, you look like Lorenzo Music."
Oh, from Garfield.
Garfield. Because they were like literally talking to each other, going, "Hey, doesn't he look like Lorenzo?"
Great comedy writer, Lorenzo Music.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of the writers on a lot of those NTM.
He was also Carlton, your doorman.
Carlton the doorman.
Yes.
On Rhoda.
The drunk doorman.
That's right.
Carlton, your doorman.
And he was also the voice of Garfield.
Yeah.
Finally says, Wayne, you're across Team Paul Scheer and David.
Oh, even better. On my honeymoon in Jamaica.
Oh no.
Getting weird.
The
I don't think I want to know.
At one of the gift shops, they said the lady was going, "Oh my God, you look like that funny guy, that really funny guy." Going, "Oh, okay."
Robin Williams.
Like who? And no, the guy with the really bad teeth. Steve Buscemi. Yeah, that's it. You look like Steve Buscemi.
You look nothing like Steve Buscemi.
And Valerie was going, "Oh, she just lost it." I'm going, "Thank you. I feel good about myself now."
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Did you get the weed joke in this week's Picard, by the way?
Yeah.
Of course. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's why you're high right now, I think.
Got to get his pot. I'm you're not talking about
that a cannabis joke? I wish it was. He said.
Yeah, the changeling's holding. Hey, man. Why are you holding out on us, man? Let's me and Oda, let's fire up. I will be at Quarks.
Got that the Bajoran Kush. It's really good.
The Bajoran what now? Oh,
exactly.
Oh, Kush. Okay.
But I would love that's great. Exactly. The Cardassians took all the resources of Bayshore, but they left the weed. And they're like, thank God they left the Kai Wynn and Kira. Yeah, I can be an asshole sometimes. I'm really sorry.
Bajoran Kush would have been on ZZ Top's Eliminator, but they had to cut that song.
That's a book of poetry that Kira.
That was the name. That was also the name of the Star Trek porn.
The guy that thought he was the emissary. That's his book of poetry, Bajoran Kush.
It was also the first Star Trek porno, Bajoran Kush.
Yeah.
Bow chicka wow wow.
Getting down in the fire caves.
Let me tell you, Pa Wraith.
The great link. That's right.
Like the Devil and Miss Jones, the Pa Wraith and Miss Kira and Miss Nerys. That would be great. Oh my God. Seriously. Why aren't we?
The show is writing itself.
Exactly. Why aren't we writing Star Trek? Seriously. Hey, Kurtzman, we got a great bunch of stories for you. That'd be great. All right, that's a great place to wrap. Let's wrap it up, boys. Good job. Good talk. Great questions, everybody. Thank you. And we'll see what happens. I guess Act 2 starts with episode 5 next week.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
I'm excited as well. Let's join us, please. Where the hell's the close? Do it. There it is.
I will be here next Friday.
Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.